What's up YouTube, Barcode here. Today I'm going to talk about who to 6-star next. I get a lot of questions about who I should 6-star next or even 5-star, and pretty much the order how I see it is the same either way. So let's get started. I do want to start with two extra things. As you can see here, I have the event page up. Everybody keeps asking, well, I do the 4th floor and I do the 7th floor. Why haven't I received my rewards yet? Well, the reason is because the challenge reward date is 3:30. So just complete the 4th floor, complete the 7th floor, and you will get your rewards. They will send it to you. Let's start with another tip. Next tip is about how aggro works. So aggro works pretty much by the elements. Fire beats forest, forest beats water, water beats fire. For light and dark, it would be light versus dark. They attract to each other. So if you have a light tank, dark will attract to that. If you have a dark tank, light enemies will attract to that. Okay, I have a lot of questions that I try to answer in chat, but I figured this would be a quick video to go to. So I'm going to start off here. This is going to be pretty much for any water, fire, and forest dungeons. You just have to, replace whatever enemy I'm fighting here. So this dungeon is going to be water. So how aggro works is if I bring in what I want to tank water, I need either a fire tank or a water tank. I don't want to bring a forest tank because water will not try to hit forest first. The only way it would work is if you bring a full forest team. Then the forest tank will get the aggro. But what I'm going to show you here is, okay, I have Bjorn. He is fire. So you see this eye. This is who gets the initial aggro. Okay. I'm going to bring in a water tank. You see how the fire still has the initial aggro. Now once I taunt with my tank, yes, the aggro will go off, but taunts only last either 15 to 20 seconds depending on the tank you use. So if I bring a fire tank, now the fire tank will take the initial aggro because that's how the aggro system works. Tank, DPS, healer. Okay. If I bring in a forest tank instead, you see the fire, just like the water tank, the fire DPS still gets the aggro. Okay. So what I want to show here is about a lot of questions I get about my healer gets aggro or my DPS gets aggro and the tank is not getting the aggro besides the taunt. For light and dark, it's the same concept. Dark tank attracts the light enemy. Now if I bring in, say, Ophelia, and then I bring in a tank, I bring in a DPS, the dark DPS is going to get the aggro. So that's how aggro works. Taunts do take the aggro off, but once the taunt falls, the enemy will go after element-specific advantages. I do want to add, however, if the tank actually gets crowd controlled, there's some monsters have this cage over the tank. It's not petrified, it's not a stun, it's just like a crowd control. The enemy can go towards different enemies until that tank is out of the crowd control. So if you ever see your DPS die and you're looking at this aggro and saying, well, he shouldn't be getting hit, that is most likely the case. That they usually go to like melee DPS first and then they'll go to ranged if that's the case, but crowd control does affect how aggro works when the tank is under crowd control, so remember that. Who to 6-star next? That's the biggest question I ever get, even who to 5-star next. I have 5 pretty much steps to go through in your thought process to think about who to 5-star or 6-star next. Mainly you want to focus towards endgame, so that would be, you know, F10, floor 10, but you would want to focus more for F7, floor 7 of Omen, just because you could potentially take the same team to floor 7 that you do to floor 10 of Omen. So think about this. First person to 6-star or 5-star in that matter is your farmer, which to farm fodder to 6-star and 5-star other monsters quicker. That would be one of your masters, and my recommendation would be Bjorn, which I was told it's Bjorn and not Bjorn. Bjorn. He is a great vampire farmer fodder. I still use him on vampire in floor 7, and I farm it just fine. So think about that. Always want to 6-star your farmer first, so that you can farm fodder faster to 6-star other servants and masters. Second person to 6-star or 5-star would be a servant DPS, your best DPS you have. That way you can burn through other elements of the game, world map, Omen, etc., and you can still survive with a 5-star tank. Your third servant you should 6-star would be your tank. Your tank needs to be beefy, and when you get to higher levels, 5-star even with great runes will not cut it. You need that extra base stats to increase your health, defense, etc. I forgot to mention, for your servant DPS, your second 6-star, you would want to again think about floor 7 and floor 10. So mainly floor 7 is what you should be focusing on. You should be picking a water or fire element. Water or fire being great in floor 5 to get you to that floor 7. Floor 7 is a forest monster, however you'll be farming floor 5 before you get to floor 7. And there is a reasoning behind. You could do water like a lot of people do Belladonna's, but if you get a nat 4 instead, I would suggest doing either the fire nat 4 or the water Belladonna's, or even a better water nat 4 that isn't a speed nuker. Belladonna's is a speed nuker. There's other water nat 4s such as Charlotte that you could use, water Kume, people like that. So after your tank, after you 6-star your tank, you want to, next 6-star you want to do is your next servant DPS, and this one would be preferably fire. Fire, because at this time when you're 1, 2, 3, 4 people in of 6-starring, you should be farming F7 already or trying to get there. So floor 7 being Omen, Forest, you would want a fire DPS to 6-star. That could be Kume, that could be you don't necessarily need to 6 fire Laura if she's pretty tanky at 5 stars to begin with, and if you just skill her up to max skills and put some accuracy on her, she can stay at 5 stars, which is what I use currently. Okay, so your fifth 6-star in my list would be the healer. At this point you would have a 4-man team of 6 stars that you could easily farm Omen's F7, and then after that you can build up towards your floor 7 goal, floor 10 goal, which would be preferably the same team, because it is fire dragon on floor 10, and since you already have pretty much a full fire team, you could use that. I also wanted to give you guys some advice on 2 potential teams you could use, because we don't like wasting our resources as free to play. So what you would want to do is either A, build a fire team straight from the get-go, straight from the beginning of the game, aiming towards floor 7 and floor 5, because fire is fine on floor 5 and floor 7, and even floor 10. If the runes are good enough, it's fire versus fire. It's just about runes at that point. But a good fire team to start out with and towards your goal of farming floor 7 would be Fire Rahman, or if you get a Fire Nat 4 before you 6-star Fire Rahman, just switch to the Nat 4 Fire and 6-star him. Bjorn, 6-star. His last skill, like I said in a previous video, damage over time is huge on floor 7, and I'm sure it'll be huge on floor 10. I most likely will end up using, say, Heat in floor 10, but again, limited resources, you could still use Bjorn. For healer spot, I would either say Dark Dunkelhound, my dark dog, or Light Moria. Or if you get a Fire Nat 4 healer, like Fire Griselda, something like that, then switch to her, okay? This will be beneficial for you for floor 5, floor 7, floor 10. The last DPS spot, which would be for the fire team, would be either any Fire Nat 4, or this is the reason why the second servant could be water or fire, because the water 6-star would be good for floor 10. So you could either do Bella or any other water Nat 4, or you could do any fire Nat 4. That would be the best case scenario. Another option you could do is have like a neutral safe team, which would pretty much take you anywhere. You would have to straight build from the get-go. I say neutral team, but it's kind of two teams, a dark team and a light team. This would require you to get Ishmael, the master dark tank, and also either light Rahman or light Monolith, two light Nat 3 tanks that would be the only light tanks that I would suggest building. With these two tanks, you could pretty much go anywhere and be fine. You have to separate them and choose which one to take, like how aggro works, to a dark enemy or a light enemy. However, you could use that same team throughout the whole world map, throughout Omen, throughout Abaddon, because it's all about runes, really. And that's what you need to think about. So light team, if I had to make a light team, I would do light Rahman or light Monolith. I would do light Mordu or light Gretel. It really just depends. Like Gretel, PvE wise, Light Gretel is more PvP than it is PvE, and Light Mordu is the opposite. He's more PvE. They both can be used in PvP too, but I believe Light Mordu is better in PvE, and Gretel will be better in PvP, and that's just because of the higher floors you get, the more health the enemy has, and Gretel's ignore defense kind of caps depending on your runes. For a healer, I would do Light Moria for the light side and Dark Dunkelhound for the dark side. I feel like I'm talking Star Wars right now. And then for like dark DPS, for dark DPS, I would do Dark Mordu or Dark Gartrop. Gartrop will be great for Omen for high level bosses, and I think Mordu would be a little bit better for the world map and for PvP. So I think if you balance all of these together, yes, I gave you, pretty much 3 options of team building for the focus of looking at the end game, because that's really where we're all trying to go. It's up to you to choose what would be best. I'm just helping you and giving you some advice on which way to take it. Really though, it really depends on what the game gives you. I can't predict if you're going to get awesome Nat 4s, and I can only dream to get a Nat 5 myself. I have one over 100 pulls, so and I'm not expecting one, because in my opinion you don't need one. You just need good runes, and that's why I always focus on the end game Omen 7 and Omen 10. So thanks for guys for watching. I appreciate all the support you give me. I'm almost at 100 subscribers, and all I wanted to do was help you guys out as much as possible, and I can't remember who requested me to actually do a video in the first place, but I'm happy, and it's been fun doing it, so I appreciate it. So thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. And Kirby, I'm sorry.